everybody. Thanks for joining me at the Colorado Knits podcast. Today is episode 10. My name is Carrie. I am your host. I can be found everywhere as Colorado Knits. If this is your first time, welcome. I usually talk about knitting and dogs and life and stuff. Today is going to be mostly life and stuff. I only have a little knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. I hope y'all are doing well. It is mid-March almost, and I had my birthday a couple weeks ago and got some cash and went shopping, which was not really the best thing to do, but it was kind of fun. I usually buy yarn in fits and spurts. Like, I never really go all in and spend hundreds of dollars, so I feel like I've bought a lot of yarn, and seeing as my goal for 2022 is to knit more of this out than I am bringing in, I'm failing miserably. So, if you want to get a hold of me, let's see, you can find me as Colorado Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. You can email me at hello@coloradoknits.net. Speaking of the website, I declared website bankruptcy. I completely had it with my website. I just was done. I could not access it on my home computer, and even sometimes at work I couldn't access it, which is really, really annoying. So I went ahead and nixed that and went to a website builder instead of WordPress, which to me is just painful. I love WordPress. I use it for work. I've used it forever. And this is a little more drag and drop, but it's also a little more limited in what it can do, but that's fine. I'm just putting up show notes and using it sort of as a project blog. So ColoradoKnits.net. Unfortunately, for some reason, when I go to it on Safari, it tells me it's not a private connection. I'm not collecting any data from you, so I'm, sorry it's not a private connection, but go ahead and go on through. It really just has my progress posts and some musings and show notes from here. So feel free if you want to go visit that. So let's get started, because I think I'm going to be babbling a lot today. Let's start with on the needles. I'm just going to be bending over a lot today. So we'll start with the simple things. Oh, do I have my finished? Yes, I have my one finished object. So I started a pair of Under the Boardwalk shorty socks. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. I can't remember the designer's name, but it's Under the Boardwalk. These are the shorty socks I always make. Super simple heel flap, gusset. I think the next pair I'm going to try and do a folded hem just for something different. But these are leftovers from my, from last year's March or April artistic yarn by Abby, which is Earth and Sky. And you can see there's the earth, there's the sky, lovely. And those are just sort of on the go project socks. Not really doing a whole lot of effort on those, but we'll see how those go. The big project that I have been working on, I say big, it's not very big. It is called the Sassy Spirit Wrap, and it is by Megan Williams, who's just run it on Instagram, Ravelry, and she is part of the Stockinette Zombies podcast and one of the hosts of the Stockinette Zombies Getaway, Zombie Knitpocalypse, which I'm going to in June. She, in 2019, put out some patterns that were called Raptitude, and she put out, it's 4 or 5 patterns, fingering and sport weight yarns, and they are wraps with unique construction. And I made one and I absolutely loved it. They did not get a lot of traction on Ravelry for whatever reason, but I loved it. It's a funky construction. It starts kind of like a cowl. You can put it on, but it's going to go into a full wrap. And you can wear it myriad of ways, but I don't know, I just kind of like it, and my shawls almost always fall off at work, so this kind of keeps it on me however I choose to wear it. It's got some cool patterns, and this is a slip stitch checkerboard that it does, and it's got some very basic lace, so switches back and forth. The yarn I'm using is some totally random unlabeled speckled. I have a lot of totally random yarn in my stash from when I started knitting 20 years ago. This is not 20 years old because it's speckled. That wasn't hip 20 years ago. But that's this. And then I am using the Sheepyshire. I love her yarns. Tara. I don't know if it's Tara or Tara. Sorry. from Sheepyshire, and you can see her at the Sheepyshire, and she also has an Etsy store. And this is her staple stock, which is 75/25, and it's a generous put up. It's 460 yards. The last one I made of these, I ran out of yarn, and so I had to make it a little shorter. It goes on and on and on. It was not a problem to make it shorter, but if you know me, I like big wraps I can wrap around several times because I'm chronically cold. This color is Dada Bee Dada Bye, and it's just these beautiful variegated blues, and I love it. And again, the speckles, it's so lightly speckled that you can really only see the speckles when I'm in a garter section. Otherwise, it's pretty much just like barely a cream colored yarn, and it's nice. Again, no clue what that is, but I'm using it in another shawl too, because apparently I have 2 skeins of it. Let's see, I have Above the Fold. I have mentioned this previously. This is by Carissa Browning. You can see this is a super cute shawl. Fingering weight. And it uses, you can make it huge or you can make it large. And I am making it large because I only have I have 2 50-gram gradient rainbows that I picked up at a D-stash a couple months ago, or like a year ago now. And then you either use, if you have 200 grams of this, you use 200 grams of a solid, or 100 and 100. So I'm making the smaller one. And I'm halfway through my stitch count on the, get myself out of the way, on the lace section. And it's a really simple lace section. It actually is sort of TV knitting because it's just mindless knit lace, you know, it's just like a 4-row repeat. And then I have this beautiful rainbow yarn, which is Loud and Proud by Play at Life Fiber Arts. I got this, it's another 75/25. I thought that said 23, and it's this beautiful rainbow. And I picked this up at a D-stash, like I said, like a year ago. And so I have 2 50-gram gradients of that, and I am using Plymouth Happy Feet, just another, this is a 90/10, I think, which is kind of cool because it's pretty soft next to your skin, but it's only 384 yards in the put up, so it's not huge. I bought these. We'll talk about my little coordinating yarn binge that I had. But this has been a really fun knit, and I've been alternating between this and the Sassy Spirit, and they're both on the basic lace right now, so they're kind of the same. And then I have one other project on the needles that I am taking off. Well, it's in timeout. I'm not sure I'm going to take it off the needles. This is the Mooncat Cowl, or I always call it a cowl, Mooncat Shawl by Boho Knits. Kelly McClure, you may know her from Sockhead Hat and Sockhead Cowl fame. And here is another skein of that mystery speckles. No idea. And this is pretty much like all mystery yarn. All 3 of these skeins were unlabeled. And I think I got them maybe at a swap or something. So I am working on this, but I'm just not excited by it. I'm finished with this variegated, and I'm moving into a solid blue. Actually, it's a variegated blue, but it's just not bringing me any joy, so I'm not sure I'm going to keep doing it. There's the blue. It's kind of tonally variegated, but I just don't think it looks very good. So, I don't know. Some people do these crazy colored shawls, and they look great, and for me, this is just maybe a little too much. So, not sure what I'm going to do with that, but it's sitting in timeout right now in this absolutely gorgeous front range bags. I might even have to take it out of this front range bag because the calaveras are my jam. And then finally on the needles, I have been digging my corner to corner Afghan, crochet Afghan. And I'm doing this in fingering weight scraps. You can see it's still not very big. I'm hoping to make this an actual blanket I can put over the couch. Not huge, not huge. It's hideous. But that's what makes it so lovely, is that, you know, like, I'm just grabbing a skein and going for it, and whatever happens, happens, and that's a scrap project. And when someone else makes a scrap project, they're always prettier than when you make a scrap project. So someone out there is probably looking at that going, that's so cool, and the colors are so great, and I'm thinking that it's hideous. So this is just my total TV knitting. I have so many row 1 minis from different tires. I'm not keeping track of whose mini I'm using or anything. I'm just grabbing one and going. And I have an entire tote bag of mini skeins to use. They're 10 grams each, and they just, it's a great, I want to be creative. I don't feel like thinking. Even socks, like on that small diameter, don't always feel so great. So this is like my television time crochet. And then I put it in my own project bag that I made over Thanksgiving last year. And I am actually really proud of these little project bags I made. They're very simple. They're very small, tiny little box bottom, but I totally dig them. So that's what's on the needles. I did have a false start on the needles. I decided I thought I was going to do, I keep looking, whenever I'm working in my office up here, I see my habitation throw, which I call my hibernation throw. My habitation throw, which is by the Curious Handmaid, Helen Stewart, and it's just a very simple garter and eyelet pattern. And I love it. I just, I did it a couple of years ago out of row 1 minis. I made myself a little December countdown, and just grab a light one and then grab a darker one and go. And so I saw it and I'm like, it's just so cute. I love that blanket, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to start another one. So I started another one, and I'm on my first skein. And then I started crocheting again, and like, it's just so much faster, and it's even less brainless because there's no counting in corner to corner. There is a little bit of counting. I have a hack for counting using, if you've done a hitchhiker, there's like, you're making a front and back to start, and here you're always adding a stitch. And so I have a little hack to do that, but I still have to kind of pay attention because I put in eyelets every 10 rows. Nobody's gonna know if I don't, but I put that on pause. I called it my false start because I'm loving the corner to corner so much that I don't want to have 2 scrappy things going, because this is very rational. For fear I might run out of yarn. I'm not gonna run out of yarn. But I'm like, oh, there aren't that many scraps. I'm moving around a lot, I apologize. There aren't that many scraps, she says. There's an entire New Yorker tote bag full of scraps. Sorry, that's crunching. There are probably 150 of these. I should count them. There's at least 100 of these, probably more than that. I have 30 unwrapped ones, so there's probably 200 of these. I probably have more than enough yarn. But you know, that's what I'm feeling right now. So I'm gonna put that on hold. It's on a pair of fixed circulars that I don't need, so not a big deal. So those are the on the needles. I started a lot of stuff. And I'm hoping I can get through some of it. Actually, the Raptitude, the Sassy Spirit, that thing's hauling. But again, it's huge. Like, you do 12 sections and then you go back and repeat 7 sections, or as many as you'd like to get through. So that's kind of, I'm only on section like 5. So I have like 20 more sections to go, but I'm looking forward to that. And then off the needles, I don't have much. I don't know. I think I showed these. Maybe I didn't. Off the needles, I have a lot of dog hair on me. I have my Earth and Sky full length socks. So these are Fish Lips Kiss Heel, using a mini that came with it from Artistic Yarn by Abby. I opted this time not to do heels, toes, and cuffs, just the heels in a coordinating color, because I am always stretching to get 3 pair of socks out of a skein of yarn, and I feel like I don't want to waste a single ounce of yarn. I really need to get away from that attitude, because it's going to go into a blanket, which I'll talk about in a minute, another blanket. But I can find a use for them, or if I throw away 5 grams of yarn, I shouldn't cry over that. It's not that big a deal. And I know that that someone out there is going to tell me, make stripy socks and do helical and make teeny tiny straps. Krista, I'm not making stripy socks. But these, now I have enough. I'm making that, I'm making the pair of shorties, and those will have a full contrast toe. And then I probably won't have much yarn left over, so I won't need to worry about what I'm doing with my self-striping leftovers. The blanket is all speckles, tonals, solids, no self-striping. That's a different blanket I'm going to be doing. So that's the only project I finished. Absolute only project I finished. I didn't even do any other crafty stuff. I was trying to think, like, anything? No, nothing at all. Just sat around. I really have not had a lot of knitting mojo. So that's what's off the needles. I actually did show notes here, so I'm trying to look at my show notes and my face is too far away. So next up, I have a couple of patterns that I am looking forward to knitting. And I printed out patterns and I was going to show you them, but they're one's downstairs, one's on the printer, one's at work. So we'll just talk about them. And you can go to the show notes where I did link them. I'm going to do the Tiny Dancer sweater, which is by ColoradoKnits, and it is a solid sweater with variegated yarn only in the front and on the back in sort of a honeycomb pattern. So you have your solid that goes over that, and it's unique, and you can use one of those obnoxious skeins of yarn that you have. So I'm looking forward to that because I have a lot of those. I did order blue solid yarn stroll from Knit Picks, which is going to be arriving any minute now, hopefully in the next hour or so. So I did add even more yarn to my stash, but it's not here yet. So that's upcoming. I am going to make one of the ColoradoKnits ebooks hats. It's the Elucidate hat, which is a worsted weight hat. I feel stupid just sitting here talking about that, but it's a worsted weight hat, and I have a skein of worsted that I'm going to get out of my stash, which is wonderful. ColoradoKnits, Mary Hull, and Knitty Joe are doing a head-to-toe year-long knit-along, and it's divided into quarters. And this quarter, ending at the end of the month, is heads, then necks, then I'm assuming bodies for like sweaters or something, I'm not sure, and then legs for feet for socks. So I'm going to join in with the hat and get a hat whipped out because it's easy. I have a cute skein of teal yarn staring at me, and it's like, I don't even know, I think it's like a Lion brand or something. I'll get that out, and I will have felt like I've made something, and I can finish a hat in a weekend. So that might happen this weekend, it might happen next weekend. In 2 weeks, I have a board retreat that I think I have to attend for my board of directors. So I'll need a project to work on, and it's got a tiny little cable on it. And then the rest is stockinette. So you get through this a long rib brim, like 4 or 5 inches of long rib brim with a tiny little cable in it. And then it's all stockinette. So if I can get through the brim before my board meeting, then I can just go stockinette in the board meeting, and that'll be easy. And then finally, oh, 2 finalies. I am going to take my I'm going to take my striped, self-striping scraps. So here I have like 20 grams of a self-striping. Love this yarn. This is an artistic yarn by Abbey Festival of Lights, I think, for Holy Festival. And I'm going to take this with a very basic gray, which is on the floor. And I'm going to do a crochet Afghan called the Boxed Block Stitch Blanket. And it's super fast, and it's a square. You start at the center and you go out and you make it as big as you want. And basically this is an underrunning under the gray. So you see the colors, but the colors are an accent to the gray. And so I'm going to use I bought some very basic gray, Cascade Heritage Gray, to go inexpensive superwash gray to go with all the different colors. I mean, I have everything from, I've got my leg warmer ones, I've got some crazy zebra striped ones, I've got some Felici in here. So these are going to be, this is going to be another down the line project that I can kind of work on in front of the TV or take. It's not really travel because it's going to be a blanket, but mindless knitting, mind you. So that's the crafty segment. Now we move into the shopping segment. I was doing great on my more out than in. At the end of February, I was down almost 1,600 yards. I'd used 1,600 more yards than I had brought into the house. And that includes like my monthly sock clubs, all those things. And that does not include my scrappy blanket that I made that I finished like January 10th or something. I didn't even bother to count that. Now I'm kind of wishing maybe I should have. But let's see, I bought 3,178 yards of yarn this past weekend. It was under $100. I decided, just like when you're growing out your hair, sometimes you have to cut it to make it grow out better. So that's what I did with my hair last weekend too. I had a mullet and I got rid of it so that it'll grow out better. So I decided I needed to get some basics. I needed my capsule wardrobe to knit down some of these crazy rainbows and variegateds and all the things that I have. So I went out to my local yarn shop and I bought a bunch of Plymouth Happy Feet. This is in a beautiful navy. They only had one skein of the navy and one skein of the black left, which was kind of a bummer because I could make everything with these two. So I ended up buying Cascade, which is not my favorite. Cascade Heritage, I bought 2 skeins of Cascade Heritage for that blanket. And also I just always have this around because it's always something I can mix in. And I bought 2 skeins of this gray that I mentioned that I'm using for above the fold, thinking I needed 2 skeins of it, but this will again work great on a shawl or something to mix in with some variegateds. But wait, we're not done. That was the 3,200 yards of yarn, and just a half hour, not even a half hour before I podcasted, my mail person brought me some stuff. I have been admiring, just lusting over some Sheepyshire yarn since before Christmas. Tara released this color called Fa La 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 La, which is pink and green and white. And if you know me, I'm super preppy at heart, and this is like, oh, this is me. And then I needed something to go with it because I'm not doing single skeins. So I ordered a skein of lime that she matched. So it's kind of a tonal lime. And this is going to be an obnoxious shawl. I wear a lot of hot pink sweaters. So it's going to be an obnoxious shawl that I can't wait to knit up. It might be a Raptitude one, or I'm not sure. I have not made up my mind. The original intention was to do a Raptitude, but we'll see about that. And when I finish that, I'm immediately casting this on because this is so springy and bright. And I know it was meant for Christmas, kind of as like a retro Christmas, but Preppy Me loves it. And then she had some one-offs. And this one is called Carousel Wildflower, and it was an oopsie skein because I don't think it's supposed to have the purple speckles in it or something. I can't remember what it's not supposed to have. Or there may be like a couple of green speckles in it. So it was discounted, and it's on a discount, I gotta have it. So I purchased this, and all of these are on her staple socks, which is again 75, 25, 460 yards. So, but because I don't buy single skeins anymore, because I'm an adult, so I bought something to go with it. Not knowing if it was gonna go with it or not, but it does. And then I heard Sarah Shira from Imagine Landscapes talking about this, that sometimes when you decide, oh, I'm going to get something that goes with it, and you get it to like match up and be matchy-matchy, that sometimes that's a problem because everything gets mushy when you're making the when you're making stripes or doing something, and that's a problem. And she has a couple of, she has a shawl she just made that's like that. And I don't know if this is going to do it or if this is going to go, this royal could go with anything. This is another one of my, like, these colors in my life. I would totally put these two together. Oh my gosh. But these are like so my jam. I could live in these colors. Like this is like Seattle Seahawks colors, and I'm always drawn to them, but they're Seattle Seahawks and I'm not a Seahawks fan. We'll see what these become, but they are, even though I'm trying to knit down my stash, I am definitely trying to, I want to have fun. And it was my birthday, so I earned some yarn by surviving another year. One thing I forgot that will be my next up is my sister's birthday is upcoming. And we're at that point in our lives where we do not exchange gifts very often, though sometimes she buys me really nice things. And so I'm going to make her some shorty socks. She lives in Florida and wears those little ankle boots sort of year round. So I have some Felici in my stash, and I'm going to make her some ankle socks out of those. Felici just went on sale. If you're listening to this live, watching this live, Felici went on sale for 30% off after I ordered some a couple weeks ago. It's 30% off for both the fingering and the worsted. And I was on the website today and I looked, and I'm so glad I didn't love any of the colors, because I was like, oh, I'm going to make a sock arms worsted sweater. Why would I do that? Because I do not own enough worsted yarn. I would have to buy all of the sock arms yarn. So that's not happening. So, I did not include in my total the 460 times 4 that I just got from Sheepyshire. So that's another 2,400 yards. Is that? No, it's 4. Yeah, it's like 2,000 yards or close to it that I've added. So I'm really going to have to get knitting if I'm going to do more out than in, especially because June I'm going to Zombie Knitpocalypse and intending to support some local vendors there. Not local vendors. Well, some of them are local, but support some vendors there. So that is 100% all of the crafting goodness. I'm going to share a sad story. I have moths again. If you've watched, I had moths a year ago, and I washed everything in vinegar and dried the things I could dry, and apparently I did not kill all the larvae. Almost all of my hand knit sweaters are toast. Everybody's like, you could visibly patch them or do this or that. Nope, not happening. I'm lazy. And I've also gotten fatter since I made a few of them, so it's okay. But I was very disappointed. I washed all my sweaters. I found a blog post on what to do, and I'm actually going to buy some dry ice hopefully this weekend. Apparently there's a worldwide shortage of dry ice. But I did see it at my local grocery store, or I saw the freezer. So I have to ask them if they have it. I plan to take all of my yarn, dump it in a giant black 55-gallon contractor bag with 20 pounds of dry ice and leave it outside and let it, that apparently will kill the larvae. I did clean out our freezer. We have a French door refrigerator with a tiny freezer. So I did clear out the freezer to try and freeze a couple shawls maybe, but I'm thinking I'm going to do 2 batches, one of yarn, one of all my shawls with a thing of dry ice. We'll see how that goes. They have not gotten in here yet, but I'm going to make sure they don't get in here. They have just been living in my closet. And I'm really bummed because I put all my shawls into a cedar chest, and then I pulled out a shawl and found a hole. I posted on Instagram, and my friend who had wool carpets in her house said, oh no, those are moths. And like, you can see that they are moths. So I went through all my shawls though. I went through like Ravelry and looked at all my shawls and realized, you know, there's only a few I would really want to have and reknit. So I listed about 12 that I'd really want to reknit, and the others I'm like, if they're gone, they're gone, and I'm okay with it. My style has changed. I don't wear shawls as much, especially I think because we're going super cash at work, and I also have a bunch of sweatshirt dresses that are hooded. I feel like almost everything I own is hooded now, and it is really hard to wear a shawl with a hood. It just doesn't quite wrap right. So we'll see what happens. I've done a ton of test knitting for Paper Daisy Creations, Lisa Ross, and some of those, that was one of the ones that was around my favorite shawl of hers called Pixel Pop that I did in navy with rainbow little Space Invaders on it. And I love that shawl. I wore that shawl all the time, but it's amazing. I didn't wear it for a couple months and look what happened. If you don't kill the larva, mothballs, cedar, lavender, none of that's gonna help. So I'm sad about that, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. I haven't even told my mom because she would just flip out. She'd feel so bad. She'd be like, we need to go buy you new yarn and this and that, and we need to pay for someone to come and do this and that and the other, and no, it's all good. So that's the sad news. Now we're going to talk about life, the universe, and whatnot. I'm going to complain for a second because we've had a car parked in front of our neighbor's house, like we share a property line. It's not their car. It's not the across the street neighbors. It's not the up the street neighbors. It's not the down the street neighbors. It's no one's car. It has been parked there for 2 weeks. My neighbors are immigrants, and I asked them if they were their car, and they're like, no. And I'm like, do you want to call the police or do you want me to? And they looked at me like, why would I call the police? So I contacted the Denver Sheriff's Department. I live in the city and county of Denver. The sheriff handles certain things and the police handle other things. The sheriff handles all the prisoners, and apparently the sheriff handles abandoned vehicles. So I put in an e-ticket and said, there's this car. I took a picture of it. I took the license plate. I get a response back saying that the case was closed. They took care of it on their end by telling me, oh, you have to call Denver police, report it as a stolen car in your neighborhood, and then they'll get back to you in a few days if it's not stolen, and then you can call this number. And they gave me a number but didn't say who it was. It's the sheriff's department. Because the sheriff's department couldn't take the license plate number and run it for whatever reason, or like send it to the police department to run the license to see if it was stolen. Nope. I had to call the cops, which is fine. Called the police, and they were great. I called the non-emergency number, and my operator dispatcher person got back to me in like 5 minutes. She called me right back. The car is not stolen. It's just abandoned on our street. Current registration. It's got someone's Costco work badge in it. It's got the picture of their kids, but the doors are locked, so I can't get into the glove box. So now they said, oh, the cops told me, you have to call the sheriff's department. And they gave me the number, and it was the same number that the sheriff gave me, but the sheriff didn't identify that as the sheriff. And the sheriff has 2 officers, 2 deputies who handle abandoned vehicles, and they'll get out to me in 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's not a problem for me because it's parked in front of my neighbor's house, and we park in our garage. But it's annoying to have an abandoned car in front of your house, and it's kind of trashed because it was stolen. I think it's weird that the person hasn't reported it stolen. Could have been stolen. We live near the airport, from one of the long-term lots at the airport or something. Or I don't know. I don't know how Denver works, if maybe it was reported stolen on the Western Slope. I have no idea. But so that's the weird and annoying thing in the city and county of Denver. And now you know. So the other thing I was going to talk about is I wanted to talk about 5 things, because listicles, 5 things making my life better right now. I got this idea from one of the things that's making my life better, the Lazy Genius, and she did a thing called 10 Things Saving My Life right now. And I don't think these things are saving my life, and I know they aren't saving hers. It's just a turn of phrase, but these things are making my life so much better right now, and so I thought I'd share them with you. Number 1, my Tovala oven. I've been talking about this thing. I hate cooking. I am not bad at cooking. I get absolutely no joy from cooking. I'll bake sometimes. I was always baking. My mom was cooking and I loved it. But even now with the dogs and everything, I'm like, nope, not doing it. If I lived alone, I would live off of cereal probably. Protein bars, cereal, pasta, very simple stuff. I am married and I have a husband who is 6'4" and works on his feet all day and works out a lot. So he actually needs real food. So I've done HelloFresh, I've done Blue Apron, I've done Freshly, I have done Tokyo Joe's protein boxes. I've done all these things to try and make my lack of desire to cook easier. And I, over Black Friday, sprung, it was $49, it was not springing, on a Tovala oven. And what that is it's like the size of a toaster oven, a big toaster oven. It is a convection oven. It's a steam oven. It's a toaster. It's a broiler. It's an oven. And for getting it for $49, I agreed to buy 6 weeks worth of 6 meals in the first 6 months that I owned it. So first week we do 6 meals. Actually, before we even got the meals, because the oven came before the meals, we did a couple things. I did some chicken in there, like boneless, skinless chicken breasts and some tater tots, and they were remarkable. Just absolutely ridiculous. You like have a QR code on your recipe and you scan it and hit start and it does all the work. And we've done it since January now, with far more than 6 weeks. We do 6 or 8 meals a week. It can cook 2 at a time. And it automatically, so what makes it so good, when you go to a restaurant, a lot of times they use steam ovens to cook things. And that's kind of like also like sous vide, where it's cooking low and slow. It's a different way of cooking than what your traditional oven does. And so chicken breasts are disgustingly perfect. Not disgustingly, not the right word, but they're amazingly perfect. They are tender, they are cooked through, they are juicy, they are amazing. I grill and smoke meats all the time, but this is totally different because stuff dries out when you grill and smoke it. This is like amazing. We did a meal of risotto and salmon, which is like one of my go-to meals that we used to make. And I can make risotto from scratch, and I can use it out of a box and do this, that, and the other. And by the way, Sam's Choice or whatever, like the Walmart brand of boxed risotto, amazing, but they've discontinued it. But this was remarkable. The salmon was perfect. The risotto was perfect. And I did nothing. I put them in some aluminum recyclable trays and push start and then plated it, and it was done. And on the blog, there's a picture of one of the meals, and it was just amazing. So we do that every single night, and almost every meal I have had has been phenomenal. I had one thing, they have cornbread that they cook, that you can cook with one, and it's an egg base with, you put in the corn and some water, the masa and some water, and it ended up tasting like scrambled eggs on top of some bready stuff, and that's not for me. That is the only thing I've had that was not good. The Brussels sprouts, they're huge Brussels sprouts, and I like Brussels sprouts when they are crispy and sometimes cooked with bacon or balsamic. These are really big, so they're just steamed and they're not quite what I love, but they're still really good. So that is something definitely saving my life right now. Opening my computer, my iPad. The second thing, and on my blog, I have an affiliate link. Do not feel obligated to buy that by any means, but I have an affiliate link if you want to check it out. Get you a $99 oven, and I might get some free meals or something. I don't think I get a whole lot, but whatever. But regardless, the ovens are almost always, they're almost always $99, so they're totally worth it. You can cook anything in it, as I said. I am looking at my blog post that I made right now, so gosh, I hope I didn't delete it. Nope. Okay. The second thing's making my life easier. Sally Hansen Miracle Gel Nail Polish. I just did this hand this morning, and it's my dominant hand, so I had to use my non-dominant. But this stuff is the bomb. I was using olive in June. During the pandemic, I got into doing my nails. I don't have beautiful hands. I'm not like fancy. But I was using olive in June, and I loved it. And I love the brushes on olive in June, and they're great, but the polish lasts like 3 days. If I put on a top coat almost every night, it'll last like a week, but I don't have time for that. This is Sally Hansen Miracle Gel. You can get it at Target. I can get it at the grocery store. And it comes in a gazillion colors, and their retail is $8.99 for a bottle. And so you do 2 coats of the base and 1 coat of the top coat. Then I coat it with Orly Second Dry, which is another top coat, which just makes sure it's dry. I love this stuff. It dries really quickly. It lasts a week. I top it midway through the week. I'm really hard on my hands, and midway through the week, I'll top it with another top coat. But I love it. and I highly recommend it. I stayed away from Sally Hansen my entire adult life because in the 80s and 90s, their products were the worst. They were made with formaldehyde and they're gross and they're so bad for you and for the environment. And now they're actually making like 7 free or whatever, like real nail polishes are supposed to be. So totally recommend them. They have, like I said, a gazillion colors, and they have this navy blue I wear all the time that I just love. And they have a really nice gray. I'm going to look for some sort of purple for Easter. That's what I have to say about that. I'm wondering what my iPad keeps getting funky monkey. Let's see, what else? Number 3, we're going to circle back, the Lazy Genius, Kendra Adachi. I have followed her for quite a while. Somehow I got her newsletter, I think when I was looking for planner supplies or time management supplies or something. And sometimes I'd read the newsletter and most of the times I'd delete it. But then I was clearing out my emails a couple weeks ago and I was reading one of her emails and it just like hit home. So then I went and downloaded the podcast. And I'm reading the Lazy Genius Way book. And when I first saw her, I was like, oh, she's going to be one of those stay-at-home, homeschooling, perfect moms. Like, everything's great, and I work out 3 times a week, and I take care of my kids, and I homeschool them, and I make these meals, and she is not that. She is as normal can be. She goes to therapy, which I love, and talks about going to therapy. She has a messy house sometimes. She orders take-in a lot, and but also plans her meals. So they don't eat fresh cooked food every night. They don't clean the house every single day, and there's stuff. And her big principle is name what matters. So at work, I am in charge of branding, fundraising, communications, evaluation for our whole project, even though I have no clinical experience, and a whole bunch of other stuff. As one person, you cannot do everything. It's just a fact. So I have to name what matters. And to me, what matters is raising the money and the branding that goes with it. So what can I do now to make things easier later? What do I want to spend time on? And what do I not want to spend time on? And can I find a way to shortcut it? And it's absolutely phenomenal. And the big thing that she says is name what matters. So for me with this more out than in, what matters? Is it actually the numbers of more out than in, or is it actually trying to use some of this beautiful yarn that I have and figure out what is the motivation? Why is it important to you? And I love that. It really helps you get to the crux of things, and it's not preachy. Most importantly, it is not preachy, and that's what I need. I don't need an organizational guru to come in and tell me I have too much stuff. I know I have too much stuff. But what matters to me of the stuff that I have, if I want to get rid of it, there's a little bit of Marie Kondo in there, but not really. So totally recommend her. She has a free newsletter. There's a book you can get at the library. I got it last night on Kindle for $8. And then her podcast is great. And really, like, she talked about how to choose your values at work and things like that. It really hit home for me. So the Lazy Genius, Kendra Adachi, love her. Fourth thing, making my life so much easier is my home gym. This is going to sound super privileged, but then when I thought about it, we bought in 2020, we bought an elliptical from Proform. I wanted a treadmill. He wanted a bike. We settled on an elliptical that we could both use. Fast forward, my husband had to have his hip replaced. He never used the elliptical. The elliptical is $39 a month. My Row 1 yarn subscription is $40 a month. So while it seems like something extravagant and like, oh, I can't afford a Peloton, I can't afford this, it's $2,400. Our elliptical was $12.99. I think I paid $100 to get it delivered in my house as opposed to on the front porch of my house. And then like $100 in tax or something, free shipping, ended up being $39 a month. I pay at least $50 a month on it just to pay it off. It's 0 interest. So this past autumn, we bought a bike for the man. So now we have 2 of them. I pay $10 a month for Planet Fitness. I've been to Planet Fitness. The last time I went was last summer. My dog is coming to visit because she sees all the yarn on the floor. I would run to the gym. It's like a 4-mile circuit to go to the gym, and then I do a quick lift. But I never really used the gym. And at the time, masks were required in the gym, and I am not running with a mask on. I wear a mask all day, every day at work. My husband does too. I do not want to. I think my dog's going to eat some tissue paper right now. So, nope, Sam, nope. So I'm going to put the tissue paper over there. She loves eating tissue paper. So I don't use the gym. I'm not going to go to the gym 6 days a week. I know this about myself. Working out is what matters to me, if you want to go back to the lazy genius, not where I work out. So that is making my life so much easier. Also, we don't have kids, as you may know. I put those things in my dining room. We don't have a formal dining room. We have a huge open floor plan and then a side dining room that's sort of half walled off. And so I put the equipment in there, and I have to walk by it if I want to go to the kitchen or the main room or let the dogs out or go to the garage from the upstairs. No choice to walk by it. So I'm going to use it, and I use it 6 days a week, at least one workout, usually 2 or 3 back to back. So highly recommend ProForm and iFit. I did see in Colorado you can now rent a Peloton. You get no equity. It's not rent to own. So if you are interested in getting fitness equipment, there's a ton of zero interest offers. And this is going to come from someone who had crap credit a year ago. So I understand it is not possible for everyone, but it is, if that's something that interests you, definitely look into it. I was so happy we did it. Still so happy. And then the 5th thing, making my life easier, is a new home screen on my iPhone. That sounds like the dumbest thing ever, but there's this app called Brass. You don't have to use an app. You could just do this yourself and get rid of everything on your home screen. But The Lazy Genius even has a podcast episode about this, but I didn't listen to it. I changed all of my icons. I changed my background. I changed everything. And it's actually black on black or white on black now, like white little icons. But when I did this through this app Brass, it took away all of my notification little badges. A few weeks ago, a couple months ago, I took a couple days off work, and I took my notifications off of my email. And I cannot tell you what a weight was lifted. It wasn't like I did a huge exhale. I don't get a lot of emails that are urgent. But if I see that little icon on my phone, I'm going to hit that. If I just glance at my phone and I see it, I'm going to hit it. And I don't want to do that. It's a waste of my time, and nothing's that important. And so this took away all of them. I cannot see any notifications. So if there's something on Instagram, I actually have to go into Instagram to see it. If there's an email, I actually have to go in to see it. Now, my laptop that I use at home does have a ding when I get a work email, not a personal email, but that's only at home, not at work, not on my iPad, which I use a lot at work, not on my phone. And while I didn't think it was adding stress to my life, it's adding a lot of stress to my life, in that I'm noticing the negative. I'm noticing the absence of that stress. I don't need to know if, the Sheepy Shire has updated her shop. It's not that important to me. Sorry, Tara. I will always look in your shop, but I don't need to know like that. I can still set reminders on my watch. I can turn on a notification. You can make it so that it does do a banner for you if you want a banner. But those little red icons, those just drive me bonkers, but I didn't know they were driving me bonkers. I've taken them off of social media, except for Instagram. That's like my social media love, because I curated my social media or my following there. I only follow crafters, cute animals, and usually brewers. That's really about it. I don't have a lot of my personal friends. If they're not a crafter, they are not on my Instagram. So I don't mind that as much, but I don't need to know that my UPS package has shipped. It's not that urgent. So I highly recommend just testing that out. Try it. Just take off all your notifications. You don't have to do an app to do that. And make your phone less of a temptation. It's worked great for me, and I haven't missed anything yet. I don't think. I don't know if I've missed anything. I also simplified what apps I actually have on my home screen and what I actually use. I don't need 10,000 apps. what do I use? I use my calendar, which is Artful Agenda. I use my email, which is Microsoft Outlook. I use a browser. My husband communicates with me through Facebook Messenger. And I have one other app on the front of the home screen of my phone, and I absolutely can't even remember what it is, so I must not use it very often. Oh, Weather Pup. I have my weather because it's winter. In the summer, I probably won't even have that. Whereas my iPad looks like this. Like, it's got 10,000 things. Like, do I really need all of these things on my home screen? I don't think so. But yes, there is much less stress in my life. So those are 5 things making my life easier. I hope you gained something from one of them. Check out the Lazy Genius. She is awesome. I do not get paid for any of those things. If you decide to buy a Tavala, yeah, I might get something, but nothing else. There's no affiliate links, nothing like that. That's what's going on here. Daylight savings time is this weekend, and I am so excited. I am the dork who does not mind springing forward. Yes, that first day, I know that physiologically it is hard on your body. I know heart attacks increase, but I wake up at 4 anyway, and don't need to get up till 5. So now I'll just wake up at 5 and I'll be normal. But my love language is sunshine. And when the sun sets at 4:30, I want to go to bed at 4:30. I am just so not happy. So right now the sun is up till 6 something here. And on Sunday, it'll be up till 7. And that is just like so awesome. So I'm sorry if you hate it, but I would love to have daylight saving time year round. But I'm not going to get into the whole discussion about that. And then spring is right around the corner, so that's wonderful. I am looking forward to, our trees have not started blooming yet here, but I did see some people had crocus. We've had a lot of snow in the last 2 weeks, so no, haven't seen a lot of vegetation coming up, but crocus should be coming up this week, I'm guessing. We don't have crocus in our yard, but, and our 2 front trees are dead. Oh, I cut one down. We have 1 tree in our front yard and it's dead. So before my HOA gets on us, I have to go replace that. So I hope spring is good to you. I hope you have great crafting. One last thing, I did not go to Stitches West. It was too extravagant for me. Mentally, it was too extravagant for me. So instead, I just bought a whole lot of yarn online. Have a great couple of weeks. I will be back. I will probably make that 5 things saving my life, 5 things making my life easier, a regular segment, but maybe 3 because I babbled on. And hopefully next time I'll have lots of crafting done. I hope you have a great couple weeks, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.